10 years it's been since I've been in a relationship. That means no kissing, no sex, no physical contact of any kind. Well, I did hold hands once with somebody, but then she left the country and that was the end of that. So I'm thinking maybe it's time to change that and put myself out there. Maybe it's been long enough. We'll see. And the reason, of course, why I've been single for 10 years is because I wasn't ready to put myself out there. Or you can say I was never ready to put myself out there. In fact, the only two relationships I ever had were because the two girls liked me, and it was easy and convenient for me to be in those relationships. So it didn't require me to do anything along the lines of going out there and pursuing the romance in my life. So that's the reason why. And I learned a lot from those two relationships I had. The most important lesson would be to not get into a relationship unless I feel right with it, and not kinda, sorta something as if I'm unsure and I don't know what I want, and part of me is telling me that's not gonna go well. It was always a mistake when I ignored that part of myself. So that's the primary lesson I would say I learned. One of my great flaws is that I have great difficulty letting go of relationships that should be let go of. That's romantic and non-romantic. Because that trait of mine, very bad trait, has caused me a lot of suffering in my life. And overcoming that has been very challenging for me. And in a second we'll talk about how that got resolved, at least in part. So why was I single for 10 years? Well, at first I needed a couple years to just get over that relationship that finally got broken up. The kind of relationship that should have been broken up long time before then, but something in both of us prevented us from doing that, even though we both knew the relationship is bad for both of us. And then I had a series of crises at work with several different people, but it was all kind of connected. And I also should have let go of all of them and left that job for the sake of my mental well-being. But again, something inside of me didn't let me do it. So I stayed there for far longer than I should have, and I had all that stress from all these crises at work and in the relationship beforehand. It was accumulating within me for many years, and once the line has been crossed inside of me and I needed to leave, and I went to Miami because it needed to be far enough. So I went to Miami, and that's where I had existential crisis, which is different from the crisis I had in Provincetown before, because I was expunging all of the stress that was accumulating within me in years prior. So this is a very opposite kind of a crisis than those before, because this one was releasing all of the stress from within me. And how was it manifesting? Well, for example, my first year of having that crisis, I was sweating profusely for about 22 hours a day for months, and I was turning on heat during summer in Miami just so I can get that sweat out of me, because I was feeling that that's one of the ways to expunge that what needed expunging out of me. And the only reason I stopped turning on heat to get the sweat out of me was because a friend of mine was visiting, so for his sake I stopped turning on heat, and after he left I continue. Another way it manifested was that I lost a third of my body weight. I was so skinny that I was losing weight out of my bones. In fact, after I returned to Provincetown, I broke my leg just because the bone was so weak that it couldn't withstand the fall I had. I had a resting heart rate of over 100 beats per minute while awake, not while sleeping. I was walking with crutches for 7 months, and things like that. Anyway, the crisis has come to an end. Well, the main part of the crisis, not everything is perfect, but I would say the crisis is over, and things are getting better, and they can and will keep getting better, but I wouldn't call it crisis anymore. Now it's just life. So now I live life. And this video is another step forward that if I were in crisis, this would be a way out of crisis, but I wouldn't say I'm in crisis, so that it's just life going forward in the right direction. I've been in Provincetown for 3 years now, and things have been improving and improving, and they're still improving, and I finally feel ready to make this step into the world, to where romance awaits, because I wasn't ready to put myself in that world until now. Maybe I'm not even ready now, but I wonder, I might be ready now. I wouldn't say I'm going back out there, because I'm not sure that I was ever out there to begin with, at least not psychologically and mentally and spiritually. The two relationships I did have were not a result of me being out there, but because it was easy and convenient, and I didn't need to go out there to have them. I just went with a flow, you can say. So for the last 10 years, after the big lesson has been learned from my relationships, I've been almost inaccessible, I would say. Not by choice, but that's how I feel like I should react in a given situation. Like, if I don't really feel that should talk to the girl, then I don't do it. And most of the ones that I would like to talk to didn't talk to me. So there have been maybe 7 girls in the last 10 years with whom I talked, and all of them had a degree of differences with me. That would be the reason why nothing happened with any of them. But some of the other reasons would be they left the country, or they didn't want to talk the kind of talk I wanted to talk. They had different aspirations for life. I would say that sums it up. You might be able to tell, but temperamentally I seem to be suited only for long-term relationships. It's not my choice. Even when I thought I might be interested in any other kind of relationship with one of those 7 ladies, I never acted it, and in fact, never in my life did I act like I wanted anything other than a serious, committed relationship. I didn't choose it. Yeah, that's just how it manifested itself from within me. That's the right way to say it. And doing that would have been convenient and easy at times, because that one girl that I held hands with once, she offered me sex directly and clearly, and I just steered the conversation towards other topics, more serious topics, because that's what I felt right with, and I still feel I would have done it. In fact, I have done it again in similar situations, and it always comes naturally to me, and I feel right with it because that's who I am, apparently. And it's not like I didn't like this girl. In fact, I really, really liked her. When she left the country, very soon after this, it took me about 6 months to recover from it because I experienced it as a breakup. And if we had sex, or if we had a more powerful connection between us, it would have been much longer than 6 months, and the pain would have been much more intense. Now, this has happened just when my existential crisis was beginning, so it wouldn't take me nowadays. I'd say a month would. It would take me about a month nowadays, because similar situations have happened since, and it's been about a month. But since I've been in such a bad place psychologically, it took me 6 months. But the point is, I liked her, and even though she made it easy and convenient to have a short-term relationship or fling or hookup, I didn't feel right with it. So I'm going back on the dating apps. Not Tinder though, because it's known for hookups and casual relationships. That would be a waste of time for me. I tried it before and it was a waste of time. 5 years ago when I tried it, I never met anyone, even once, in person. Vast majority of girls on those apps I didn't like, and the ones that I did, vast majority didn't like me, and the ones that we matched, I didn't really talk to them. I would lose interest too fast. So nothing really. It felt like a giant waste of time, almost the entire time I was doing it. So I was telling all of these thoughts of mine to Andrea, and Andrea said, "Go back to the dating apps." And I said, "Everything I just told you. What a waste of time it would have been." And Andrea listened very patiently and attentively, and at the end she said, "Yes, and I still think you should go back on the dating apps."
That's what I said.
So then I thought about it for a few months, and now here I am. Maybe I grew up. We'll see where that goes.